And members, coming into my first session last year, I thought that there'd be an opportunity to find some common ground in actually addressing the epidemic of gun violence that's occurring here in our state. But this is just another gun bill, another gun debate, and another missed opportunity to actually address meaningful legislation that can curtail the epidemic of gun violence that we are all experiencing. I see some folks in the gallery that would 100% agree with me and with many folks on this side of the aisle, believe it or not, that we want to address gun violence. We need to. It is occurring more and more every single day, and we're almost growing immune to the news of another story of another tragedy. And, you know, I take a look at 2023. The Sentencing Guidelines Commission data shows us that it is an epidemic. It's not just a word that we're throwing out there and trying to be hyperbolic. It's very real. We had a record 1,805 cases of gun violence in 2023, under the DFL trifecta, mind you. 30% of those 1,805 cases of gun violence ended in a conviction with a mandatory minimum sentence. 30%, 3 out of 10. 41% of those 1,805 cases were either A, not charged, B, they were dismissed, or C, mandatory minimum sentence was waived altogether. That's a big deal. That's where this gun violence and the epidemic of gun violence is all stemming from. We're incentivizing the behavior. We're not criminalizing it. In fact, instead of actually addressing that data that I just gave to you, we're going to go backwards on it. We're going to actually do the opposite and say that we should do away with the mandatory minimum sentences for criminals convicted of gun violence. Don't believe me? Take a look at House File 4277. You guys authored it, and I'm getting really, really sick and tired of having to listen to this one-sided false monopoly on compassion that is claimed by the other side when it comes to gun violence. You don't get it anymore. You don't get to bring forward pieces of legislation that criminalize victims and say, look, we're addressing gun violence. No, you're not. You're doing the exact opposite. You're saying, gun criminals, you're good to go. Go do it again. Because in Minnesota, we'll let you just keep doing it. There's no penalty, no sentence. You'll never step foot in a jail cell. And if you do, sorry, we'll get you out of here as soon as possible and with some wraparound services. This is getting ridiculous. Why don't we actually address the real issue? Instead of having to debate these tiny, minuscule bills that at most do nothing other than criminalize victims, and at best make it a little bit harder for somebody to actually want to have a gun in the first place because it's another onerous hoop jumping process that they have to jump through, why don't we actually address the root cause of the issue? Somebody, please, from the other side of the aisle, we want to address this. Let's talk in the back room, and let's figure out a way where we can actually get to the heart of the issue of what's hurting Minnesotans every single day in our communities. Thank you.